All right, guys, thank you so much for having me out this morning. My name is Cody Swander, and I am representing the Nampa Recreation Center. Have you guys all had a chance to set foot in the Nampa Rec Center? Hopefully at some point you have, if you haven't. Who's from this area? A few of us? Okay, very good. Well, I am. I grew up in Meridian, which is a neighboring community next door, and went to school through the Meridian School District, graduated from Boise State University in 2000, and I worked at the Nampa Recreation Center since 1994. So coming up this April, I'll have been there for 20 years. I started as a lifeguard in the pools, put myself through college working there, and it was a great job, and I was able to kind of move up through promotions to the position I'm in now as director, and I started that in 2006. So that's kind of a little short history on me. I know we're here to talk about communication, and from my understanding, the communication that you guys are going to be focusing on is our customer service representatives at the facility. So if you go into the front doors of the rec center, you're going to notice the folks kind of selling a membership, greeting you as you come in as our customer service reps, those that stand behind the desk. In our facility, we have about 150 employees that, on average, most of those employees are part-time individuals that provide the service that you're there for. Our lifeguards, our weight trainers, our counselors for our day camp program for the kids. Those are the types of employees that most of you see when you show up and need service. We have a small group of individuals that are full-time, that oversee those part-time, and we kind of break them up into departments. And one of those departments is our customer service representatives that you'll be looking at. We have about 15 to 17, depending on the season and how many hours people can take. A lot of the different departments are made up of students that go to school here, go to school at Boise State, our high school students, even some of them. We have a staff of lifeguards. There's about 38 to 40 of those. Most of them are part-time, or all of them are part-time except for one. We have one full-time supervisor in that area of the facility. The other areas are our weight room. We have about 10 to 12 part-time weight trainers with one full-time supervisor overseeing them. We have about 16 to 20, depending on the year, group fitness instructors. Those are the people providing you Zumba and spinning and cardio kick and all of those fun classes. And they're overseen by a full-time coordinator. And then we have water fitness classes, a staff of about 5 or 6 that provide water aerobics instruction. And we have a pretty large day camp program where we'll see during the school year about 70 to 80 kids per day, and during the summertime and Christmas break we have anywhere up to 130, 140 kids per day in our day camp program. And we have one coordinator and a supervisor that oversees that, along with our play center, our preschool, and some of the other child care areas. We have a lot of activity going on throughout the facility. We have approximately, and it's hard to count because we have kind of changed our system over the years, but we're around 6,200 to 6,500 memberships sold to the facility, which represents around 13,000 to 13,500 people, because the membership can include multiple people. The rec center, just on traffic for the year, just to give you a perspective, we have over 500,000 visitors to the facility that we get a hard count on. And a hard count are those that scan their card at the front desk. We know that we're a lot busier than that because many of the programs that you go to the rec center for are not a reason that you would scan your card. If you sign your child up for a swimming lesson, they're going to show up to the facility 10 times. The lessons are 10 sessions, and we don't have a card scan for each of those. So we're estimating close to 1 million bodies through the doors every year. The Nampa Recreation Center is a 140,000 square foot facility, and directly adjacent to us is the Nampa Senior Center. If you've been there, there's a second set of doors on the east side of the building that the Senior Center accesses. The City of Nampa owns and operates both facilities. The Senior Center has its own board of directors, and they run their own operations. My staff have nothing to do with them other than we manage the space, do custodial and maintenance on their facility. The City of Nampa is proud of the Nampa Recreation Center, and it's my job to keep that point of pride in the fact that we do not rely on property taxes to keep the doors open. And that's a rare feat within a municipality government. A lot of times a facility like the Nampa Rec Center relies on property taxes to subsidize its operations. And luckily, through I think partially the growth of Nampa over the period of time that we had a mortgage on the building helped sustain us, and we are actually operated through our user fees. So if you come and join, buy a NNU pass as a student here, or bring your family and buy a family annual pass, those fees you pay keep the lights on, keep me paid and my staff paid to be there to provide services for you. So that's just kind of a quick overview of the facility. If you haven't been out there, we'd love to see you, give you a tour. And one plug is that we do partner with NNU, and I think that semester passes are still available. You go to your Student Life office. It used to be called that. I don't know. It's kind of changed names over the years. Is that Student Life? Does that sound familiar to you guys? Okay, I hope so. Anyway, I think there's a Student Life office here somewhere, or Student Services, that will sell you a semester pass, and it's the best deal around, bar none. You can't get a better price off the street or in through the door, so no matter what Craigslist says. So. All right, I am here to answer questions for you guys, and I talked to Dr. Vanderpool in advance of this, and I kind of got maybe an overview of some of the questions you might ask me, but this is an open forum, so you feel free to ask me any questions that you guys have. So,
how do you deal with conflict between employees?
Conflict between employees is something that we try to minimize, but it's inevitable and will happen, and it depends a lot on what level of employee that you're talking about. If I have two of my supervisors that have a conflict, most of those people are college educated individuals that I feel like if I can get them to communicate with each other, they'll be able to work those differences out themselves. If the conflict is with a policy or administrative call that I've made, I like to bring them in and get their perspective and maybe share with them some of the reasoning behind why that policy's been put into place. If the conflict is between a supervisor and an employee, I like to hear both of the sides of the conflict equally and maybe act as a mediator. And sometimes the conflict from a supervisor standpoint is justified, and sometimes it's not. Maybe I need to kind of get the circumstances behind that. I like to listen to every side equally. If it's between coworkers especially, I like to be in a room myself with their direct supervisor, so there's two from the administrative team, to sit down and listen to both sides of the conflict and what might what might we be able to do to come to some kind of resolution. One thing that we do have is a lot of young employees. Many of our employees are college students or high school students even, and they might need some coaching on how to behave at work. And I like to remind them at the end of the day that this is employment and you work for us, so you represent us professionally. And if that can't happen due to a conflict, we can't remove the conflict, then perhaps that employment is not the best fit for them. So it really depends. That's such a vague answer, but I'd have to know specifics about the conflict before I could get more specific there. Any others? Yes, sir.
What's your preferred method of communication with your employees?
I prefer to talk to them face to face. It's difficult for me to do that with the number of employees that we have and the times that we're open. The rec center is open over 100 hours a week, and so typically I'm there 40, 45 hours, and so I miss the opportunity to connect with all of those employees. So preferred would be to talk with them, just because it seems like when you can read somebody's body language and look into their eyes, the point gets across where it could be lost perhaps in an email or something else, but it's not always possible. So we do rely on other methods of communication. Yes, sir.
You were talking about the scans and how that really helps get a hard count of people, and that's a really cool technology system that definitely helps with a place like that. Are there any other systems or technologies that you guys run at the rec center that help
Well, there's not anything that we have. There is some that I would like to have. I know that there's people counting software out there that you can kind of mount cameras above your doors, and it will look for the shape of a human head, I guess, is what I understand, and it'll actually give you a better indication of how many people come through. We could have the old-fashioned, laser beam interrupter that counts people and things as they come in. We have not adopted that technology yet. Here's an example of how we've grown in our technology. In 2004, which was just 10 years ago, is the first time we got an integrated specific parks and recreation software program to manage our database of our point of sale system, our database, and everything combined into one system. So we're still, I would say, not on the cutting edge of technology. Any others? Yes.
You had mentioned that you have lots of supervisors and such of independent groups like the water aerobics and the
Yes.
fitness classes. Do you have any particular protocols as far as communication between the supervisors versus the supervisors with the people underneath them?
Yes, the way we're organized we have what we call leadership team. The leadership team is headed by myself and the Parks and Recreation director. And those people that report to me, those 6 individuals, plus he has about 4 individuals that report to him, we meet once a month. We meet the first Thursday of every month at 2 o'clock, and that's our standing meeting. That's our leadership meeting time when we kind of talk about issues that we're facing, talk about new procedures, policies, bring up problems in the respective areas. These supervisors come to this meeting and share all of this information with me, and I share information back with them face to face. At that point, they go forward and have individual staff meetings in services. They have different names depending on the areas that they go, where they meet. In fact, I went to one last night that was a customer service representative staff meeting, and they talk about that stuff is shared down to the next level to those individuals. So the things that we talked about during January's leadership meeting get passed down to the customer service at their in-service meeting. They talk about those different topics at that point. I don't go typically to all of those. In fact, I try to hit one a year from each of the different areas throughout the facility. I do that to try to touch base with employees that I might not run into regularly. I'll admit that the play center staff that change the diapers and keep the babies quiet while mom and dad are up working out, it's not often that I'm back in that area of the facility, and so some of those employees I only bump into a few times a year, or maybe coming and going. So one thing I like to do is make sure that I get to one of their staff meetings every year, just so that I can sit down in the room with them, kind of feel the pulse of the room, what their concerns might be, let them bring any concerns to me, and kind of share that. So I'm in the middle of doing that, and last night was the time that I met with the customer service reps. Yes?
With all the employees you have, what do you characterize as a good employee? Like, what characteristics?
It depends. Okay, it doesn't depend. Good characteristics are reliable, and I think trustworthy is what I would say. My philosophy in hiring employees, and especially supervisors, I like to hire professionals that I can turn around and after some training, and trust to do their job. So I'm not the micromanager type of supervisor for the customer or for the leadership team. For frontline staff, if we're hiring a customer service rep or a lifeguard or something, I think integrity, willingness to work, and basic life skills like timeliness and appearance and dress standards are important to me. Now, I have a different perspective because as the director of the facility, I care what the image that's being projected out to the public is. I want the public to come back and renew their passes to the rec center and keep the cash flowing to keep my job and everybody's job there, and to serve the mission of the facility, which is to provide quality recreation programs for the community. So when I'm looking at a lifeguard, I might be looking for different characteristics than Brady, our aquatic supervisor, might be looking for. He's probably wanting to know how sharp are they on their safety skills, how strong is their swimming, what's their ability to, retrieve the brick off the 10-foot pool, what time can they hit with those things. those are important because the whole reason we have the lifeguards is for safety, but I also want somebody that projects very well to the public. Can they talk to these children without scaring them? Can they talk to an angry parent or mother and explain the rules why their child's sitting out on the side without getting upset and feeling like they have to come, complain or raise an issue with the administration of the facility? Those are the things that I look for, and I say they're good characteristics for everybody. Any others? Yeah.
What advice would you have for an employee?
Anything specific, or advice for getting a job, or?
Yeah. Getting a job.
Okay. My advice for employees are to maybe have an idea of what you want to do and investigate the position before you apply. I'm always amazed when I help somebody interview and I get the applicant across the desk from me and they don't really understand what it is that they're applying for. They don't know what the job specifics are. They haven't done a lot as far as research on what the position is. And I know it's always hard to find out every aspect of a job, but one piece of advice I would give them is to at least look at our website, see what programs we offer, see how we are organized. Maybe look up who's interviewing you and have their name down so that you can refer back to them and it look like you're engaged. And then I think what that does, two things: it helps you present yourself better and ups your chances of being hired for the position, and it also gives you a better background on what you're getting yourself into, and you really want to do something like that. Because I might be able to land a job in the play center, but I don't want to change diapers and babysit crying kids all day. And you have to really want to do that and know that you're getting yourself into that when you took that position. Another one is custodial. We are open till 10 p.m. during the weeknights, and we have custodial staff till 1:30 a.m. So when I'm hiring a custodian, one of the key things is, are you willing and able to end your shift at 1:30 a.m. and do that continually on an ongoing basis? And to know that going into the interview is important. Yes?
What skills have you found most helpful in your position?
In my position, one of the skills that I have found the most helpful for me is to slow down and to listen to customer complaints. Working for the city government, there's always, if it was Cody's Rec Center, it'd be easy to turn a cold shoulder on people that I feel are belligerent, or people that I feel I've gone as far as I can to help service them or provide them service, but by reporting to a Parks and Rec director who reports to a mayor, there's always a chain that the public can climb and have their concerns about me, about my organization, about my staff complained or addressed to. So one thing that I've learned over time is it serves me well to slow down, listen to somebody's complaint, regardless of how I feel about it, whether it's legitimate or not. Just going through the exercise of listening to them and trying to get some kind of grasp on why they feel the way they do. Sometimes that's all a person needs. And even if I don't make a judgment call, or change a policy, or give them exactly what they want, I get better results. Or if it does go to my supervisors, when I'm sitting in the mayor's office and he's asking, why is this person upset, I'm in there with them, it goes over better when I've had 20 minutes, 30 minutes of their time and listened to every complaint. It's helped me. So that's been the biggest one. Yes?
Can you describe the ethical environment of your organization?
The ethical environment? Yeah, we try to uphold high ethics. We're a government organization, and so our records are transparent. People can request information at any time. There's a process for some technical things, but if you walk in and you want to see financial records of the facility, they're available to everybody. So business ethics, for one, are very transparent, very wide open, and we work to be able to turn over books that I would not be embarrassed to show anybody. And Our personnel ethics, I feel, are very high. We have pretty low turnover rate, comparatively speaking. When you look, and our part-time positions tend to turn over every so often. I think that's the nature of part-time employment. But our full-time positions, we have a lot of people there like me that have been there 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. And so I don't think if we were to shortcut our ethics, we would have people stick around that long. We like to treat everybody fair and make sure that we're providing the focus of our mission, which is the quality of parks and recreation opportunities for the public. There's not a lot of ethical quandaries, I guess, for us to get into. Yeah.
For being with the rec center as long as you have, do you have any goals or things that you'd like to see happening with the organization in the future?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the rec center's been there 20 years, and when we opened, the city of Nampa was 45,000 people, and we're closer to 85,000 people now, and so we're really feeling the pinch on indoor recreation space. And one of the goals I have is to, impress upon the city council and let them know that additional indoor recreation space in the city of Nampa is needed, whether that's an expansion at the Nampa Recreation Center or a whole nother recreation facility in some other part of town. When you come in, you see our gymnastics floor is on our basketball court, and it limits our use of the rock wall, and our weight room is full. We can't even, if we want a new piece of equipment, we have to get rid of something in order to make it fit, and it's just kind of reaching capacity as far as space. So increasing the services to the public is one of my biggest goals. Yes?
In what ways do you give feedback to your employees, the clients, that kind of stuff?
Well, I try to, we have it's tough. When you have, 1 million people in the facility, to hear from all of them is difficult to do. One thing that we have is I try to be open door. I am out through the facility and people have access to me and my staff. So I know that they handle the brunt of concerns and complaints, but just being there, we're typically there 8 to 5, and I mean, not always that, and sometimes on weekends and longer, but just being there to answer questions. We have a comment sheet at the front that they can fill out and submit. I see every comment sheet that comes in. I initial the top and date it, state so that when I pass it along to who actually might be able to fix it or get back to these people, they know that I've seen the comment sheet. If I see a lot of the same things, I kind of start looking into this. Why are we having concerns or complaints? Some of them I've seen trends in that, the pool's too cold tends to be a trend that I get from senior members, and I go double check the pool and make sure that we're actually following the American College of Sports Medicine guidelines on pool temperatures, and if we are, I chalk it up to just personal preference. We also have we try to do it about once every 2 years, a customer survey that goes out from our website and with our newsletter that citizens can tell us what they think. We try to tailor some questions so that we can have, I think we use SurveyMonkey or something, but it compiles it in a report for us, but it also has an open section that they can let us know what they feel if the survey hasn't touched on areas that they feel are important.
Yeah, could you give more information on the role of a customer service representative in your business?
Yes, our customer service representatives are the first face you see when you come into the rec center. Their main role is to provide service to the customers. They typically are behind the desk and selling memberships, answering questions, checking out equipment, basketballs, weight belts, different things that the customers might need as they come in. They're typically 2 employees at a time that kind of work the desk. Our software system allows them to have a cash register open and search the database and give them information on when does my pass expire, when is my contract come up for renewal, how many passes do I have left on my punch pass, those sorts of things. They're also tasked with answering phone calls that come into the facility, answering face-to-face questions. Sometimes they act like a switchboard to Parks and Recreation because they're so visible and they're there so many hours that we get odd calls that, you know, the lawn is flooding at the park, or the bathrooms are still locked at Lions or something like that. So sometimes they're working dispatch, just making sure that customers everywhere in the community are, those concerns are getting directed to the correct people that can manage those things for them. They're also tasked with, you know, walking through the facility, making sure that the age limit on the cardio machines are being kept, helping people in the lost and found find stuff and retrieve that. Just general customer service needs. Yes?
So you would say the customer service representative is like the main point of contact for the community?
I think so. You know, a lot of people will walk in the facility and they may never talk with a trainer or get in a pool where they have any interaction with a lifeguard, but at least once a year they're going to have to touch base with our customer service reps to renew their pass, and they're probably going to hopefully get a smile and a hello, how are you today sort of greeting as they come and leave the facility. So even if, you know, those that have the headphones on, head down, walk in, they do their workout and leave, they're at least walking past that individual and having some interaction with them. Yeah?
How do you maximize employee productivity and like specifically motivate employees?
Well, I think training is one thing that we like to do. I like to hire motivated people that try. If we find we haven't, we turn them loose and find somebody else who can. And we have found that none of the job tasks that we have are so technical that your average person can't learn it. So I don't believe that, you know, motivating them to do a good job, it's something that they have to bring in their character. So we motivate them with some training and being flexible. Like I said, most of these people servicing you are part-time folks, and they have other things going in their lives, other jobs, school, and you know, we might not pay the best wages. So to motivate them, I think we work with their schedules. And you know, with us open so many hours per week, one of the things we can do is say, hey, is work around somebody that says, hey, I have another job from 3 o'clock until the evening, so can you work me in the morning and on Saturday? And that's something we really try to flex for them, accommodate that schedule, and I think that motivates them to stay on with us and to continue to do a good job. And then the training, we like to bring everybody together and at least once a month and let them know what they're doing right, let them know that we're keeping an eye on their performance, and I think that that's motivating too, just to know that we're engaged with them. I've heard others, and I've been at other facilities and places where the staff might not feel like, you know, they might feel like a cog in the wheel more than an actual part of the team. And so I think by having the right leadership team that engages these part-time folks is motivating for them too. Yes?
What is the cultural diversity within your organization?
The cultural diversity? What we like to do, or what I like to coach my team to do, is I'd like our cultural diversity to look like our community. And I think that's the best way you can do it. I mean, we try to look like Nampa. If Nampa is, you know, 80% white, 50-50 male and female, 22% Hispanic, or whatever our, last time I looked, that's kind of what we were. That's what our workforce should look like as far as cultural diversity. That's the best, I mean, way to do that. Yeah.
Probably having a lot of young people work there. Do you have, how do you kind of go about any obstacles or issues regarding social media, technology, cell phone devices, things like that?
It's changed our environment. It really has. One area, I guess, that us playing catch up in that would be, we had cell phone plans for the leadership team, so we all have cell phones, but there was no texting on the plan. So we could get all the calls we wanted from our staff, nobody could text, and we found that many of our supervisors, our lifeguard supervisor, our day camp supervisor, were using their personal phones because their staff preferred to communicate with their supervisor through texting. And I started texting myself last year, so I'm kind of new at it. I still haven't learned it all completely, but it's one of those things that I think we're catching up to the demographic of our general employee base. Most of our supervisors, they're we've had a few retirements, so we're getting younger, but I would say our average supervisor age is late 40s. So there is perhaps a generation and technology gap between the supervisor team and the workforce. So we're trying to keep up. We're open to those things. Yes.
You mentioned that the senior center was relatively close to the facility, but that they have their own management there. But with other organizations, like with the Student Life at NNU, as well as the board of directors at the senior center, what forms of communication are the most effective with dealing with outside groups?
We use email primarily. The senior center being so close, I go over and I know their director well, so I can just pop over and visit with her, you know, anytime. She's there Monday through Friday, so I kind of know her hours. But email is primarily our communication device for organizations. That's how I stay in touch. Or John, our membership supervisor, stays in touch with NNU. I mean, they've been out to our facility, we've been out here, we've had a few meetings, but those meetings tend to end, and a quick email says, hey, what are the new semester dates for NNU students, so that when can we expect to start seeing these memberships roll in. You know, we communicate with we like to partner with a lot of different organizations in the community. We partner with St. Alphonsus heavily, we partner with the Nampa School District, NNU. There's just a lot of different organizations. We have an entire you know, marketing and development division within Nampa Parks and Recreation. So they're everywhere throughout the community. I think they're you know, they'll get in the car and go across town, but primarily it's through an email. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned your preferred method of communication is face-to-face with your employees, but within the organisation as a whole, do you have any concerns for communication within the organisation?
Do I have any concerns that
Of,
of us not communicating effectively? Yeah, I do. Communication failures tend to be the root of most problems. We see that that's something we're constantly fighting. Specifically with the customer service representatives, they communicate a lot of information across that desk, either through the phone or face-to-face. And if they get it wrong and pass on wrong information, just like you, if you go into a business and somebody tells you something, you walk out of there and you believe that because you feel like this person should have that base knowledge. So if they communicate something wrong, it really causes ripples for us because they tell somebody a policy and they show up later and expect something and we're telling them, no, we can't do that. Then we have problems and they're not happy and I hear from them. So having the right information is critical, and that's what, you know, the communication biggest problem is our team communicating incorrectly. Now, you'd like to believe everybody's honest, but they're not, and so I hear wrong communication coming back from the public too, and so I have to be able to listen to both sides of this story, and it's just I hate being in that spot because I want to believe everybody, and you know, I don't want to be that supervisor that doesn't back his employees, but then I don't want to just be the supervisor that blindly backs their employees and doesn't listen to the customer as well. So it's a tough situation. And the best way we found to battle that is to make sure our team is all on board and communicating the correct information across. Because if they tell you an NNU pass is $60 and somebody else tells you it's $100, well, you're going to want to believe it's $60 regardless of what the truth might actually be. And if you were told that, that's what you're going to see to be the truth. So.
One more question.
Yeah.
So I have a question. If a customer complains about what the employee did, like I'm not happy with what he or she did, so how do you react to the two sides of people?
Well, if I get that face-to-face, I like to just listen to them, and I typically don't ever say, well, this is how I'm going to punish this employee if they're in the wrong. I typically listen, and then I call that employee in and say, what's your side of the story? And what I've found is it's amazing how different the sides of the story can be, because, you know, from the customer's perspective, I have the worst employee ever that never told them anything or told them all this wrong stuff. They were rude, they were all this. And then from the employee side, it's always, well, man, this person came in with a chip on their shoulder. They were already rude to get started. I tried to talk to them, they cut me off, wouldn't listen to the final thing. So how do they even know anything? Because I never got a chance to say a word. And so in between this two extremes, I try to find out what has happened. And what I found is with our members, there's the members, unfortunately, the members that are the good, they pay their dues, they come in, they enjoy the facility, I rarely hear from. The ones that come in and have a problem with this, have a problem with that, it tends to be that same person in this area, that area, another. And so pretty quick I kind of learned, and over 20 years I might have witnessed some of this myself. If I don't know them, I'm just super objective and try to listen to both sides. I never go back and tell a customer, oh yeah, you were right, this person, you know, my employee gave you wrong information, they were rude, I punished them, they got suspended for a week. I never do anything like that. I just let them know that the situation's been looked into and has been handled. That might have been exactly what I did, or it could have just been, well, you know, we all know Mr. Robbins, and that's how he acts, and you know, he'll be back next week and everything will be fine, and we'll just, you know, chalk it up to that. So the outcome might be different, but I handle the process the same. If it's in writing, I get an email or a comment sheet, I like to reply in an email where I can kind of lay my thoughts out in a concise way and think and rethink and erase and rewrite my email in a way that's concise and politically correct. But I don't always get that method. Sometimes they say, I want a phone call back, and if they request that, I call them back, just like they ask. And we hash it out on the phone, and I hear their concerns, and you know, and if it's legit, and in the past it has been, I always you know, take it up with the employee, and we're failing. We have an employee with the wrong attitude, or I have an employee that doesn't know how to do their job. I can fix the employee that doesn't know how to do their job. If I have an employee with the wrong attitude, that's only going to last so long before they're off.
I'd like to thank you very much for coming and visiting with us today.